Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface, the second part of the Throne of Thunder Raid Finder opened early in the week called Forgotten Depths, and we've got 3 more bosses with which to tackle. The first one is called Tortos, who is a tortoise. Yeah, highly original name, isn't it? Now, before we go into the actual mechanics of the fight itself, I've got to say, the Last Stand of the Zandalari, which was the first part, I really enjoyed. Really liked the aesthetic, loved the boss fights, thought it's very good indeed. This side, Forgotten Depths, I think the only word I can describe is just hated it. Absolutely hated it. Now, the boss fights are alright. There's nothing to it. And actually, the final one is really cool. I really enjoyed that. But the amount of trash that you have to wade through to get from boss to boss to boss was just ridiculous. I mean, absolutely obscene. I thought I was playing a video game for 1999 again or something like that. It just felt so old and so outdated, the amount of trash that we had to wade through. It's unreal for me. But you feel free to pop in the comments below your feelings on the matter. I mean, these are just mine and they are not shared by other people necessarily. But yeah, I just found it so much of a chore. And the worst thing is, you better get used to these fights because the next part isn't going to open up for a further 2 weeks. And then when that opens up, the part after isn't going to open up for a further 2 weeks. So we've basically got these bosses for the next 2 weeks, then 3 more, and then 2 weeks after that, 3 more. And, well, that's I'm going to leave it there, and you put your own comments what you thought of the instance. But, oh my goodness, hated it. Anywho, let's get on to the mechanics of the fight. And the first one is Call of Tortos, which you saw popping up on my screen there, where he'll send in 3, in this instance in Raid Finder, spinning turtles to the fight, which must be defeated. If you don't defeat them, and he calls another 3 turtles, then there will be 6 inside, and so on and so forth. So they must be defeated. Now, they do this spinning shell attack, where they'll deal 45,000 physical damage to all players within 5 yards. So these really should be tackled by ranged DPS, and if you get too close they will also knock you back. But when you get them to very low health, they'll do an ability called Shell Block. Well, they'll hide inside of their shell and become immune to all types of damage, but it will enable them to be kicked across the room, and if they hit any enemies then it will put the shell concussion debuff on them, and we'll get to that in a moment, because when they're in the shell and you want to kick it, you have that extra action button there in the middle of your screen, and you'll get an arrow pointing in a direction. That's the direction that you will kick the tortoise in. So you have to line it up and then kick it through. But I'll just tell you now, make sure it's lined up at Tortos, because there's an ability that you really want to interrupt. The shell concussion effect will apply, and it will allow that person which has been hit by a spinning shell to take 25% more damage for 20 seconds. It's huge. So what you need to do is kick the turtles into Tortos. I nearly said tortoise. Tortos, when he starts to cast Furious Stone Breath, because that will inflict 15,000 nature damage to all the raid every half a second for 4.5 seconds, but it will cost 100 fury to cast, so it'll basically use up all of Tortos's fury. But that's the one, there it is, spraying out everywhere, that you need to interrupt, otherwise the raid will take too much damage, especially if there's multiple tortoise spinning around knocking everybody. Now, if there's nobody in melee range, he'll gain an ability called Growing Fury, where he'll just gain 5 fury on top of what he gets throughout the course of the fight anyway. And then you'll see those almost like turquoise-esque type of circles on the ground, and then stalactites coming down. These are called rockfalls, where a lightning charged stalactite will fall from the roof and will inflict 100,000 nature damage to all players within 5 yards. And Players that are within 20 yards of its fall will also take 20,000 nature damage. So don't just get out the circle, probably get a little bit further out as well to minimise as much damage as possible. Now, how do I know they're stalactites and not stalagmites? Very simple way to distinguish the two. The mites go up because the tights come down. I know. My chemistry teacher taught us that when I was 14 years old. Not that disturbing, is it? But the tights always come down. There you go. I educate as well as give you out abilities. Anywho, there's another ability that Tortos does called Quake Stomp, where it'll stun the whole of the raid for 1 second and inflict physical damage equal to 30% of their maximum health. That's another ability that you can use the spinning turtles to kick and interrupt because it's a big one. It will also increase the frequency of those rock falls for 8 seconds. So if you can, kick them inside. Tanks, be on the alert for something called Snapping Bite, which will inflict 325,000 physical damage to you. So when it's incoming, either pop some cooldowns or healers, just be on alert to get them up ASAP. There'll also be some further adds coming in called Vampiric Cave Bats. Now, our melee were very lazy, and that's probably what made this instance even worse. And they just stuck to the boss the whole time. But the bats tend to stick around Tortos, so melees, you should really get on them while the ranged are getting on the spinning turtles. Because if you are attacked by one of these, they will drain your health. And if you have less than 350,000 current health, then they will inflict 25% weapon damage as physical damage and heal the bat for 10 times the damage dealt. So in other words, the bat will just go straight back up to full health and won't be able to be killed. And because the ranger's spending a lot of time taking down the turtles, melee, come on, out your bloomin' asses and do it. So those are all the abilities of the boss, and it won't be too long before you kill it. Yes, I got some gloves. Yippee-ki-yay, mother lover. But I hope you enjoyed the vid. Please do like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter, and remember also, please do like my Facebook. They desperately need your support. Not saying that, it's true, not just a finishing to the vid. But I will be back with some more stuff very soon indeed. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.